As for the session happening in this room, um, it is the topic for the session is leveraging innovation and entrepreneurship for social and environmental impact. I would now invite our speakers to please take their seats on the stage. Our moderator for the session is Mr. Manoj Kumar, the founder of Social Alpha, an organization, the organization I am a part of, which is on a mission to drive economic growth, social justice, and climate action through the power of entrepreneurship and market-creating innovations. A big round of applause, please. I would also invite the other panelists to join him on stage. Request everybody to join us for the session. For leveraging innovation and entrepreneurship for social and environmental impact. Other panelists for the session include Ms. Anita Kumar, Head Amazon in the India CSR. We also have Dr. Taslim Arif Syed, CEO and Director at CCAMP. And we have Mr. Mudit Danwate, co-founder at DOZI. I will now hand it over to the moderator, Mr. Manoj Kumar, to take this forward.
Namaskara, namaste, good afternoon, and welcome to this afternoon session in 12th CSR Leadership Summit. I know half of the hall is now empty, but I also believe that the remaining people who are sitting in this room are genuinely interested in what we are going to talk about and genuinely interested in transforming India's social, economic, and environmental status and the priorities. So thank you for staying back. And thank you for your continued interest in this panel discussion that we have curated for you. I hope you will enjoy it. I'm Manoj Kumar. I'm the founder of Social Alpha, but I have curated a wonderful panel for you. I have Anita Kumar, who leads corporate CSR and corporate philanthropy for Amazon India and has been championing injection of innovations in the CSR policies and priorities. Anita, welcome to CSR Summit, and thanks for joining us this afternoon. My second panelist is Dr. Taslim Arif, who is the CEO of CCAMP. All of you who are genuinely interested in understanding how innovation can create impact and create impactful solutions for healthcare and life sciences must visit one of the finest incubators in the city, called CCAMP, and Taslim, who is a PhD in neuroscience from Max Planck Institute, decided to become an entrepreneurship development evangelist from a scientist and has created a pipeline of amazing startups, which is the only success story in our country. I'm looking forward to a discussion with Taslim on this. Taslim, thank you for accepting our invitation and joining us. And our third panelist is an entrepreneur, founder of DOZI, who has created a wonderful contactless remote patient monitoring system using the power of science, and his million ICU program is transforming the country, and he will talk about it when we get into the panel discussion. So I can assure all of you that by not leaving this room, halfway through, you're going to really enjoy what these three people have to talk about, use of leveraging innovation and entrepreneurship in solving India's complex social, economic, and environmental problems, and how corporations and CSR practitioners and NGOs and entrepreneurs and innovators can work together. Thank you very much. Let me start with Anita. Anita, when we think about corporate CSR, we only think about giving money for schools and for toilet construction or for charitable work or for disaster relief, which I think is very important, and we need to make sure that corporates are spending money on relief charity. But of late, we see interest among CSR leaders in corporate India who are actually promoting innovation and entrepreneurship for impact. I want our audience to know about what you do in Amazon and your experience in promoting innovation and entrepreneurship.
Thanks, Manoj. I hope I'm audible. The mic is new. Thank you. I'll just start by saying, some of the points mentioned earlier in the day were really resonating. What Mr. Prashant Prakash was talking about, what does startup mean, startup culture mean, and the whole bias for action. So firstly, working in Amazon, and I joined about a year and a half ago, right in the midst of the pandemic. It's unlike any other corporate, right? And the reason I start with that is it's central to innovation, which is really working in Amazon, and I keep repeating myself here, is like working in an incubator, like working in a social alpha with thousands of startups, right? Each of our teams works like a startup. And some of these things are kind of part of the DNA, and some of you might have heard of it, our famous leadership principles, by which it's not just a bunch of principles which are written and forgotten about, but we practically live it. We hire by our leadership principles, we promote, we perform every single day. And one of the most exciting things which happened in 2021 was 2 new leadership principles which were added, one of which was really about success and scale bring broad responsibility, right? So both to society and to environment. And the reason it becomes very important, the minute it goes up as a leadership principle in Amazon, it means every single person, which is actually 1 million people across the globe and 100,000 people across India, are now thinking how to bring responsibility to the society, to environment, in whatever they do. They may be a tax accountant, they may be a product manager somewhere, they may be a software engineer, but they will be measured on this leadership principle in whatever they do, right? So for me, that's the single shot, scalable way of injecting innovation and social responsibility at the same time. Now, going on to just talking about, as you rightly said, what is CSR? Is it just about giving money to nonprofits, or what it is? And we've been through our own journey of this, and I think it's a big spectrum. Amazon being a diverse company, diverse stakeholders, we work pan-India, we deliver to 99% of the PIN codes in India, so I can't say, this is our focus geography, right? So we are pretty much everywhere, and also diverse businesses. Now, thinking of it that way, our corporate philanthropy does not have a single philosophy, right? It's also decentralized. It's also we have multiple people doing different things. But one thing is that it's on a spectrum. So on the one end of the spectrum is what we call hyperlocal responsive giving, which is very typically our CSR giving as understood by Schedule 7, 2%, all of that, right? So where we really, and that we've been doing for years, and we continue to do in areas where we have significant presence of, say, infrastructure. Say we have our fulfillment centers of our operations, or we have our AWS data centers. Around these areas, we do a lot of CSR work, the type of which Mr. Mohandas Pai was talking about, which is really how do we build integrated community development around those areas. But moving on across the spectrum, there is a whole set of things we do which we call Amazon for Good, which blurs the line between what is business, what is philanthropy, right? So different teams have different versions of it. For example, our seller teams work on initiatives which many of you may have heard of around, say, Saheli or Karigar, which are about women entrepreneurship and, say, artisans across the country. It's a business-led initiative. It has nothing to do with CSR, right? But by working on initiatives, working on ecosystem which supports entrepreneurs across different areas, we are essentially and the entire company, the business actually works around, the marketplace works around the 3 goals we have declared for India, right? Which is really about digitization of small and medium businesses, which is about exports, how much exports we'll enable through these businesses, and how many jobs we'll create in the country. So it's almost in the DNA of the business to do what is right for the country. And therefore, a lot of the businesses do stuff, including, for example, say, an Alexa for Good, which really is looking at how do we make education more inclusive across persons with disability or whatever it is. And that is, again, a business initiative, right? So there is a lot of things which we do. One of the specific things I'd like to touch upon on Amazon for Good is our logistics for good. And Mr. Prashant Prakash spoke about it. I think that was probably my single moment which I'll always remember in this sector as a development practitioner, that we were able to do that impact when ACT grants reached out to Amazon saying, would you help on the oxygen crisis. This was, April 19th, 1 week before it hit headlines. And we said we can support, a few thousand oxygen concentrators. They said, we don't need your money. We don't need anybody's money. We have the money. We have the concentrators, but we need the logistics support. And within 4 days, we had the global logistics. I had mailed everybody I knew in Amazon and didn't know, and we got a call back, and we could move stuff sitting in Singapore, sitting in China, sitting in the US within a matter of days, right? So that's the fastest I've seen how a large corporate machinery can work. And most of it was philanthropic, right? We didn't, that happens with any disasters where we leverage our logistics for good. There is no business in it, but we don't fund there, but we use our logistics for good. The last piece on that spectrum, and I'm sorry I'm talking a lot, but the spectrum of hyperlocal CSR to business for good is where we pick 1 or 2 large societal problems and say this is where we are going deep in terms of corporate philanthropy. We will solve it with a set of ecosystem, and one such, in India, we have decided to focus, this is our first year of operations in terms of corporate philanthropy programs. We have decided to focus on underserved, underprivileged young people, and how do we enable them socioeconomically. And therefore, one of the programs we launched, which just launched recently, is the Amazon Future Engineer program, which is about access to computer science and technology to students who come from vulnerable communities, and we are primarily focused on government schools at the moment. So I'm just going to pause here and let you take it from there.
Thank you, Anita. This is very insightful. And also, being a technology company yourself, your focus on using science and technology and innovation to create impact, further becomes really important, because that is your DNA, right? Now, so let me change the topic a little bit and go to Taslim, because we all know that innovation can be very powerful, impactful. We can create irreversible and deep impact using innovation. But innovation itself is not enough, right? We need people to take innovation from idea or lab stage to the market. And that is where you need ecosystem and infrastructure support to translate an innovation to a solution that community wants to use and community wants to assign value to. And that is where our friend Taslim and the organization he leads, CCAMP, come into the picture, where innovation and the power of the right ecosystem and infrastructure to promote innovation and translate into something meaningful is actually very important. So Taslim, I just wanted you to share what CCAMP is doing, but also how you have been able to work with corporate CSR leaders in promoting innovation in healthcare and life sciences.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Manoj, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for the invite, Manoj, on this panel. Just to introduce, I think we are not as big as Amazon, so I'll do the introduction of CCAMP. I think that's a fair thing, but CCAMP is a central government Department of Biotechnology supported organization based out of Bangalore, where we are trying to build deep science innovations in terms of which can have impact in healthcare, agri, animal health, and environment through the means of life sciences. The idea is, if I just repeat again, possibly, how do you identify deep science ideas and see the value and potential in it, and then help it go through all the way to make game-changing innovations which can actually have the societal impact. And that's very, very important. And we haven't had conventionally, India hasn't had a large number of those coming out. But this is the chance, because over many, many years, we have invested in science, but we haven't harvested from science. So there is something what a seeding, but we haven't done harvesting of science where we take the scientific knowledge and make innovations to change things which society needs. We know from the pandemic clearly, Manoj and all friends, how innovations or the tools in healthcare were so crucial when we realized that flights were not there, the logistic supplies were not there. Even testing was not possible in India. You needed a doctor's prescription. Why did you need a doctor's prescription? The bottom line was that we didn't have enough testing capability in India. We usually were importing those. And we were not building our own. We were not building our own innovations for that. And that's where innovations has the potentials to do the societal change. If you can build your indigenous innovation, you will have the self-reliance, be it in healthcare, agri, and animal health. That is a very, very important thing. And this is where building and harvesting innovation is a very crucial change. If innovations are drivers of the societal impact, entrepreneurship is the driver of innovation to make that societal impact change. And that's very, very important thing. So we have to clearly understand that. And if you want to actually aim high, go to deep science. Do not do incremental. Do something that is much more risky and hope that some of them will work. From that perspective, CCAMP has been working for last 8 to 10 years to identify those ideas and take it forward. Over years, we have had, Manoj, and you do know about it, that many innovations which were there. But I think last year it was become very clear that how these innovations which actually go and build and go towards the finish line, but do not cross the finish line. When I mean to say finish line, they would go, but the system, and more so in healthcare, doesn't use it heavily. We had some products which were there, but not. And this is where CSR support was crucial in terms of unlocking this potential of innovation to get to the system. Where through the CSR support, we were actually able to take these innovations, work with the government, and deploy them in the primary healthcare center, in hospitals, in many other capabilities. And these are underserved populations. These are the populations which are otherwise cannot go to Apollos and Fortis of the world. But government doesn't have the infrastructure. Can we work through CSR to actually take these innovations which are locally built, indigenously grown, and suitable for the semi-urban and rural environment, and then could do it well. And that was actually worked out as a, if I may use the word magic bullet here, where we were able to take at least 30 of our innovations, including some of the work with Dozy that he will talk about a little bit later. I'll not take away the thunder. So, but nonetheless, 30 innovations, friends, we were able to do in 14 states. Our innovations are touching millions of lives already by support of the CSR, where the equivalents of, if I may just take a few names, and I'm going to miss some names, SBI Foundation, ST Parekh Foundation, and to be honest, in addition to international foundations like Novo Nordisk Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, and many others, SDFC, came together and said that we really want to ensure that the preparedness and the infrastructure in terms of healthcare delivery is there, and innovations which were towards the finish line but had not crossed the finish line could be able to do it. So this is, if I'm going to wrap it up, I'm not going to take much time. This was towards deployment aspect, which CCAMP, because of its portfolio, could utilize it and do that. Second important thing that CSR could actually do much more is have a futuristic and long-term view, which is very, very important. This we could respond because we had a portfolio. Think of it, if we did not have our backyard innovations ready, we were in a soup. We were definitely in a soup if these innovations were not there. So we have to actually also build our next crop to make sure that it can be harvested later on. And that crop seeding also can happen from the support for CSR, from a perspective of societal problem solving, which is very, very crucial. And this is actually very possible. We have the pieces of the puzzle. We all have to come together, the innovator, the innovations of like CCAMP, Social Alpha, and most importantly, government structure and CSR, and say what problems do we need to solve together, and actually possibly build consortia, targeted consortia, not ad hoc consortia, targeted consortia to solve it. So I believe that CSR is a humongous role to play. They played a crucial role last year, and I'm sure in future they can play a larger role.
Thank you, Taslim, for laying out so beautifully the power of collaboration and how we deploy innovation, right? Tested, piloted innovations deployment. It took a pandemic for all of us to understand the power of collaboration and power of innovations, right? And you also, said it very nicely that we have the CSR community, the corporate CSR community has been extremely, powerful during these days to use CSR funds for deployment, right? But CSR funds can also be very catalytic in taking some prototypes or early stage ideas to market, so that this pandemic is hopefully over, but there's another emergency called climate change that is coming up. Are we ready for that, right? And the world we are living in will have this situation. Do we need to wait for an emergency to get ready to create or catalyze innovation and deploy innovation, or we all can put our philanthropic capital as well as various other capital pools to build a pipeline of that? Thank you for articulating it so well. So you heard the perspective from a corporate CSR leader in a large multinational corporation which is active in India. You also heard from a scientist turned ecosystem enabler that how innovation can be deployed and how CSR capital can be extremely catalyzing and empowering when it comes to deployment-ready innovations as well as when it comes to catalyzing innovation from lab to market. I'm now taking you to our third panelist, who is actually an entrepreneur and who is doing it, right? So, Mudit, can you talk about your mission and also how CSR community has been encouraging you to do what you are doing?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Manoj. And so I think, very amazing to be on the panel because, very deeply involved with Amazon because whatever we do, is through Amazon. We have worked a lot with CCAMP, right? In fact, in terms of deployment, as Dr. Tasleem was saying, it started a lot of handholding that we had from CCAMP and that, helped us shape this very rapidly. I'll quickly introduce as in what we do first, right? So first, DOSI. DOSI is a contactless remote patient vitals monitoring system and early warning system that converts any bed into a step-down ICU, right? It's both for public as well as private sector and, even pre-pandemic as well, we were in the market. And we were scaling quite reasonably well, right? Post-pandemic, however, many gaps were exposed that, India doesn't have enough critical care management capacity and so on. And that's where we quickly ramped up even our capacity, our innovation and scale to the market. And the way especially, the biggest impact happens when the solution reaches to the public, right? And the public sector has its own set of issues, challenges, along with all of those which are there traditionally even in the healthcare sector as well, right? So public healthcare is a different ball game altogether, including, the procurement cycles are long. There is lack of money, lack of technical expertise, and so on. And that's where, we launched this initiative called Million ICU, which is focused towards elevating the public critical care management infrastructure of India, right? And this was launched during the peak COVID times, but the focus is not just COVID. It is, of course, that was the time where, it really was needed and, every newspaper was writing about it. But, if we even see at the infrastructure that we have, say in even the post-pandemic world as well, cardiac patients, 55 million, we have 4,000 cardiologists, right? Every year we are adding 20 million more cardiac patients, close to 200 cardiologists, right? So that gap is just widening. Diabetes, I can give you same numbers. Oncology, any specialty that I pick up, right? Although it has really been exposed by a pandemic, but we are almost looking at a loaded gun, right? And if we don't act, we are going to see, prolonged pandemic even from a chronic condition, lifestyle disorders. We have so big elderly population to manage, right? Already crossing more than 100 million now, right? And what is the number of doctors, nurses that we have, right? And traditionally, time and again, right? When we needed, India needed to feed its population, it required a green revolution, right? There was a need of technology over there, which was in-house, indigenous in nature, because we can't rely on everything which is done outside and adopted in India. When we needed to ensure that quality infrastructure is available to everyone, we took it in our own hands, right? And that's where now when we are seeing, if the vision is to provide quality healthcare to every Indian, I don't think we can rely on just the foreign technologies over there, right? Right now, 85% of the things we are importing from outside, and how are we going to ensure quality care, right? Europe has given a model that how to ensure quality care to every person over there. Spend $2,000 per capita, spend of $2,000 on healthcare, you can provide quality care to everyone. Problem in India is that we have earning of $2,000, right, per capita. So how exactly we do that, right? So the cost that needs to be there for doing the same kind of thing needs to be almost 1/5 to 1/10, and that's exactly what we are trying to do, right? And the great thing is that of course, what we do in India, we have a large mass to cater itself, right? And that is the first focus. But India never innovates for itself also, right? When India innovates, it's for the 4 more or 5 more India that we have in the world as well, right? So even from a larger perspective as well, this can be a huge seeding. Of course, we will take care of what we are as into India itself, but even the vision is much larger as well, right? At one point, even looking beyond as India as well, we are trying to even escalate it even ahead as well. And in times to come, and I'll share some numbers as I have not done that. But basically, in last 6 months, using the Million ICU initiative, we have upgraded close to about 3,000 general ward beds to step-down ICU, saving close to about 100,000 nursing hours, monitoring more than 55,000 patients in last 6 months, and most importantly, with the timely alerts which were given using the early warning system, it affected more than 2,000 early transfers to ICU, right, which you can count as touching or saving lives also, right? So that is the impact that we had. A lot of credit goes to the CSR partners which came in, SBI Foundation, Vadvani Foundation, ACT was someone who really supported us, and now even many big corporates are coming in and joining this initiative. In next 6 months, we are looking to upgrade 15,000 more beds. Imagine India has 100,000 beds, and I am talking about upgrading 15,000 ICU beds in next 6 months. So that is a scale which we can together achieve, right? With technology, things can be done much faster, right? We can do that catch up. We have a huge gap to fill. That catch up can be done. The technology is there. I think if only thing which is remaining is money, right? I think that can be sorted, right? And that is something which CSR Corpus does fill in. So looking forward to creating this change together. So yeah.
Mudit, thank you so much. I think your execution focus and your ability to deploy your investment, your innovation with the investment from CSR community is a good case study and example, right? This playbook can be further improvised and implemented. This is a great topic to discuss, and I can spend rest of the evening talking to 3 of you and then engaging with the audience as well, but I think we are almost close to the end of this. So I'll ask each one of you just one last question. And what would be your one recommendation to innovators and also to the CSR leaders, that if we need to inject more and more innovation in our social, economic, and environmental landscape, what would be one thing that you would recommend our CSR community to do and our innovators to do? With Anita first.
Yeah, this is unscripted questions, Manoj, not
Yes.
fair, but yeah, okay. I'll try my best to twist my answers like we do, right, in exams. I think what I've learned, and I've been in the corporate world, I've been, a consultant, I've been an entrepreneur myself, pitching to Social Alpha at one point, and, I've been on this side. So seeing all of that, I really value the fact, or acknowledge the fact that we need different kinds of innovations and we need different kinds of funding, right? And it's, you need everything. It's not an either or whatever. And I believe, for example, for me personally, if Amazon were to restrict our contribution to society by just what we fund, it would be a complete underutilization of what good we can do, right? So at least in the mental model I have on how we can contribute or what we can do is like, how do we utilize 3 things, right? One, how do we support the ecosystem and entrepreneurs with our technology?
Yeah.
And that's where I didn't talk about it earlier and I don't think I can do justice to what we do with our AWS public sector work, but just to name a couple of examples, we have a public sector startup ramp program, right, which is focused on both pre-revenue and post-revenue startups, which are working in the space of solving societal challenges across, from climate change to healthcare, agriculture, everything. And they get a whole lot of things, not just promotional AWS credits, but access to community, experts, and all kinds of things, technology, solution architects, everything, right? So that is one program. We started a program with the Ministry of IT, which is, as you said, on quantum computing, because we are really saying how do we use quantum computing research at a cutting edge to bring up innovation in the country, right? Which was launched again. It is specifically about saying how can entrepreneurs, funders, public sector come together to solve large societal problems. So the point I'm making is we look at it, how can we offer technology? So AWS is one, but we have multiple technologies, so we work with that. Some we give for free, some we get paid just to cover costs, whatever. But technology is obviously one big way in which we support. The second way is really our talent, whether it is our mentors or whether it is access to our experts. And the last is funding. And again, funding comes in many different forms. I would personally be interested in seeing how we can experiment with the kind of innovative funding models which are available, be it in the CSR law, be it outside of CSR law. I personally feel that I'm lucky. As part of my CSR budget, I fund very typical community-based models. As part of my corporate philanthropy work, I'm free to work with entrepreneurs who may not be not-for-profit by model, right? So I look forward to working with more innovation supporting organizations through CSR Capital, right? So
thank you so much. You're basically saying that it's not just funding, but if you are core competence in a particular area, you can also bring that to the table. That can be very empowering and extremely powerful for promoting innovation. Taslim, one advice to...
Yeah, no, absolutely. I wouldn't say advice, I think...
Recommendation.
Not even recommendation.
Sharing.
I would put my wish list. I think that is easier. I think since you are asking what could be done, I think as CCAM, I'll be quick. I know the time limit is there, so I'll be quick. We all know that there are sectors where India needs improvement. Maternal child health hugely requires improvement, right? We all know about it. We lose mothers, we lose young kids very early age, and we don't know. This room doesn't know, but those numbers are devastating. We require change in that. We require change in agri. I think agri hasn't seen new ways in last 30 odd years after Green Revolution. There are ways where the AMR, or so superbug, India may be the epicenter of it, the silent pandemic, the biggest healthcare challenge that we have. What I'm trying to say is that there are areas that we need to work on, and my wish list from a CCAM perspective is that can we come together in a mission mode with CSR, corporate, innovators, and the innovation engines like CCAM and Social Alpha, can we build mission mode approaches for each one of them? Can we have a 5-year timeline to take down the ghastly numbers that are in front of us in terms of mortality, loss of life, bring them down multifold, and see if we can do that. And that is the way to go. I know you asked for the wish list, but that is the wish list that we want to do together.
Basically, identify a big, audacious problem, aggregate resources, and put all your effort to solve the problem.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Mudit, one recommendation based on your experience.
So, you
are an entrepreneur.
The youngest, naivest, so I won't say that probably in the room as well. But no recommendation. I know what I have to do. Basically, million ICU, that's the target. So I have set myself 3 years that I want to make India the best public healthcare infrastructure in the world, and that's what we'll do.
Thank you so much. You are an entrepreneur, and I just want to close by saying that entrepreneurs take risk for making life easier for all of us. And entrepreneurial risk-taking is something that has built India's startup ecosystem. It's the startup ecosystem, the most important part is not capital, not infrastructure, not policy, but entrepreneurial risk-taking. And I would like to close this session by saying that let us all celebrate the spirit of entrepreneurism that we see in India today, which has shown us magnificent results in areas like e-commerce, payments, logistics. But the time has come for entrepreneurs to create impact in agriculture, healthcare, climate change, and other social and economic impact areas, and for that, corporate CSR leaders can really be very empowering and catalyzing. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure talking to all of you, and thank you, each one of you, for being part of this panel.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Request the speakers to please stay on the stage for the memento. We have Mr. Rusen Kumarji, who will be handing over the memento to Mr. Manoj Kumar. Big round of applause, please. To Miss Anita Kumar. To Dr. Taslim Arif Syed. And to Mr. Mudit.